60 iterations off the central news cycle. There's a Tim that vibes more with simple living than hot takes. His name is Simple Tim, but he's no sheep. He realized long ago that the greatest thing he'd ever chase was just skateboarding and fishing in a van down by the river. This is true freedom. We captured that moment. We run it on a loop through Simple Tim's mind. And the pure essence it makes his brain secrete goes into every cup of Simple Tim's Freedom Brew coffee. Come home to the impossible flavor of your own unplugged escape. Come home to Simple Tim's.
So I opened up Twitter, or X, last night, and I saw the trending topic, Tim Pool. Tim Pool pauses hustle at 39 years after 16-hour days. And a lot of people had a lot of things to say about it. Now, I don't know, what exactly his personal plans are. He does seem to have been experiencing a significant amount of burnout. And I wanted to defend him a little bit in that. And because I think a lot of the criticism that is thrown at him is unfair. It's just, I get the get a real job mentality. And I think that maybe, taking pictures of your beehole and posting it on the internet, I think that's a very fair criticism for those type of jobs. But I don't think that you can really call Tim the type of guy that just turns on a camera and does nothing and then complains about it. And burnout is very real, and the responses to it are wild. Saying he has a man cold and stuff like that. I get ribbing, I get the good-natured ribbing of it all, but I wanted to look at it. So X wrote this. The podcaster and Timcast CEO opened up about how the relentless work caught up with him, sparking replies from nearly 800 people, weighing the endless hustle against health, family, and rest. Some teased him of his man cold or pushed work-life dismissal, while others urged prioritizing his young child's first years and shared stories of burnout or early retirement wins. With 83% of workers facing burnout and blurred boundaries common, the exchange captured real tension in 2026. Build hard in your 20s, but listen to your body as 40 nears. Now, what started all this was this tweet. Been sick the past several days, working 16 hours a day, eventually stops working like when you're about to turn 40. And, this is something that I can relate to. And now I get it, all right? Like, I'm not going to be like, oh, woe is me. I sit on my rear end and read other people's articles on the internet. I think any bricklayer, construction worker, road worker, trucker, just about every job on the planet has more physical demands of the people that do it. And so you won't really catch me complaining about my job. It's an incredible job. I am incredibly blessed to have the audience that I have. I am incredibly blessed to be able to provide for my family, making videos on the internet. However, that doesn't mean the job is easy. This is something I run into all the time with family members and friends who think it's just, you just roll out of bed and make 5 videos and the money printer just goes burr. That's not what happens. In fact, I'm working harder now at 42 than I ever did probably in my life, because it's harder to cut through the AI slop, which generates nearly 30%, which dominates nearly 30% of all videos on YouTube, for example. I assume TikTok and Instagram are just as bad. I know AI videos have taken over X, so it's never been harder to break through the noise, and it can be frustrating. And when you have a regular job, you get paid X dollars per hour, and you work so many hours, you get the paycheck. With doing the online stuff, you never know. Like, some videos do well, some videos don't do well, and it doesn't have anything to do with how hard you work on them. And that creates a significant amount of stress, especially for me. That's why I started that. I have a second channel called the Jeremy Hambley channel. The whole reason, the biggest reason I started that channel is because the quartering became extremely unpredictable in terms of whether or not it would even show my videos to my subscribers. And, I put videos out there every single day, for the most part. And that channel's growing. But even now, with a second channel with 250,000 subs and a main channel with 2 million subs, I'm making less money than I was with half the subscribers. There's a lot of unknowns that go into this job that really create a lot of stress that I don't think it's necessarily fair that everyone just makes fun of people and thinks this job is easy. I'm not saying it's bricklaying, okay? I know it's not. I'm not saying it's construction work. I'm not saying I'm out in the cold doing road construction or in the coal mines. Yes, those jobs are way harder and way more difficult, and their payoff is generally less if you're lucky. If you're one of the lucky few out there and you built an audience before everybody, basically pick sides and subscriber growth shut off, I'm very lucky. And God willing, I'll be able to ride this out until I'm 50 without getting completely burnt out, build a nice nest egg for my family, and retire. But that's probably not going to be what happens, And I think with Tim, the guy he does, 4 or 5 videos a day, just like I do. He also does a 2-hour to 3-hour live stream every single night. I'm not sure how many days he's missed, but I can tell you as somebody who's doing this. And again, I'm not saying to feel bad for me. I'm just trying to provide the guy a little bit of a break here. I have not missed a live stream. Like, our live stream has gone for 3 years without missing a single day. Even when I went on vacation with my wife, I still had to do my daily videos because if I don't work, I don't get paid. I don't have paid vacation. I don't, I have to pay for my own insurance. I have all this stuff as a content creator. You don't necessarily have if you work a corporate job where you have 3-4 weeks paid vacation. You can take time off and not worry about, well, I'm not going to make any money for the next week. YouTube and content creation at this size becomes a bit of a golden handcuff. And it is, again, I know no matter how many times I qualify this statement, people are going to be like, oh, don't whine about it. Again, I'm not whining about it. It is an incredibly lucky opportunity that I've had to do this work. It is an incredibly lucky job that Tim Pool has to do the work he does and make the kind of multi-millions he does. The thing is, it's not like this job doesn't have stress. And when you're Tim's size, you're talking about a company that has 15, 20 employees, sponsorship requirements, daily videos, daily live streams, weekends. You can never, ever turn it off. I mean, I work Sundays just so my Mondays are more palatable. Again, not complaining. It is an incredible opportunity that I choose to work 100 hours a week because I want to maximize the opportunity while I have it. And I know that when I'm, if I'm fortunate enough to live to my 70s and 80s, I'm not going to be doing this. I've already long past extended probably the period of growth that I'll ever have. So now in order to maintain my earnings, I have to work twice as hard, 3 times as hard. And there is burnout there. And I don't think it's fair that people, okay, youngster, get over your old man cold and get back to work. It's not, I just, I think that when you do get older, the grind does wear on you no matter what job you have. That's why what's nice is when you work in the private sector, hopefully you work for a company. Like when my dad retired, I think he was getting 5 to 6 weeks vacation a year. My father-in-law gets 5 weeks vacation a year, where you can take off, unplug, punch out from your job. This is one argument that I often had with my wife until she kind of understood more about it. It was like, when you punch out from your job, a lot of jobs, not all, you punch out, you go home, you don't have to worry about it again until the next day you get in. Now, not all jobs. That's not how this job works. You punch out, you have to immediately be looking for tomorrow's stories. You have to be immediately constantly looking at extra breaking news that you have to cover. You have to be worried about, now I have to do stupid short forms like the Gen Z kids or Gen Alpha and all this kind of stuff. And I think that people, again, working, I get it. You want to talk about an OF girl or something like that, not working hard, sure. But this is a wall that a lot of people hit. Here's Marissa. I'm hitting the same wall running a gas station, turning 40 this year, all while raising a 5-year-old that sneezes in my eyeballs. It's an honor and a privilege every time I hit burnout doing the Lord's work. I turned 40 in August, been feeling this a lot. It's real, and at 42 now, I have to take like a million different vitamins a day because I can't even afford to get sick. Like even, I had the coof twice and I didn't take any time off work. It can be a grind. Again, I'm not complaining, but I think that people dunking on Tim, isn't necessarily fair, and this is why, like, for a long time, I have overshared on the internet, and that gives people who don't like me a lot of fodder. And I'm sure a lot of people who don't like Tim will be producing videos and saying, "Oh, Tim's tired. Oh, Tim doesn't do any work." Blah 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 blah. The same people that have, similar jobs and probably work half as much as he does. And I do think that it's important that, I'm a fence rider. I don't know exactly which way the wind is blowing right now, so I'm going to hush for a minute. I don't think there are a few people out there, Elon Musk, Donald Trump, probably some people in my viewership that are working like crazy and they don't get burnt out and they don't ever, I get it. But I do think, if he decides to retire, which I suspect he's considering, so what? I think that it's a very real thing. People get burnt out. I know nobody respects this job the same way they would respect like somebody in the army or like real dangerous jobs, I get that. But that's not my point. My point is it is a different kind of work. There are managers at jobs that make good money that have to work 60, 70 hours a week, even though they're salaried. And then when they get burned out, no one says, "Oh, well, you're a manager, so you make enough money." This is a nonsense YouTube opinion. Yes, there are more difficult jobs, but it's weird that people are dunking on him. And have you tried elderberry or drinking the blood of the young? At 42, I'm willing to try almost anything. But this town, the wall is real, and this kind of hustle is a young man's job, and it's a young man's game. But, I wished him all the best. Some people are being good. Stefan Molyneux says, "Stop working so hard. You chose to become a father. You have the rest of your life to work. The first 5 years with their child are critical. You can never get them back. Retiring before 40 is the greatest move I ever made. I'll never understand how people who can easily retire young with enough money to pass down to their kids are still working excessively." Well, that's a very small amount of people. That I know that Tim is financially set. Like if I had his money, I'd burn mine. But I think that dunking on a guy for having a real moment, to just try to be honest, isn't exactly, I don't know. I don't care for it. I know the internet's always going to do what it does, and I don't always agree with every opinion Tim Pool has. And I know sometimes he has his meltdowns on the live stream, but I think all of that is because he's just pushing himself too hard. But that's because that's what the system rewards. I wish I didn't have to do 5 videos a day, but that's what YouTube apparently has said. This is what you need to do, Jeremy. You need to do 5 videos a day if you want to keep paying your employees. I've got 3 editors now. I've got a thumbnail person. Their salaries come due on the first of the month, regardless of whether or not YouTube decided to demonetize 11 out of my 15 videos or something like that. There is a lot of hidden stresses in this world that, I think, again, if you max out your Roth IRA for just 2 years and let it compound for 50 years, averaging 10% annual, again, I don't think you earn 10% annually in a Roth IRA. I have a Roth IRA. I don't earn 10% in it. There's people saying the Americans' middle-class fascination with work-life balance will be its downfall. Pardon me if I sound like a dorky lib here for a second, but I don't really see it as a win, grinding yourself into the dirt and having no time to enjoy the fruits of your labor. And so I hope Tim does take some time off. And look, if you're looking for someone to guest host Timcast, buddy, I'll fly right out there. No problem for me. I hope you enjoyed this video. Get some rest, Timmy. We'll talk to you again real soon.